It's like
Right.
you need to redox before you detox. Like I didn't have enough energy and my energy was imbalanced to fix it. So sitting outside for a couple of hours, I was getting a huge dose of energy. You are the protocol. You have all the answers inside of you. You just don't realize it yet.
Welcome back to the I Am Pain-Free podcast with your host, Rob Renee. Today we're diving into a journey of resilience, natural healing, and self-discovery with Vanessa Baldwin. Vanessa is a classical homeopath, certified quantum biology expert, and her story is both inspiring and eye-opening. From a childhood filled with chronic health challenges to a complete health collapse as an adult, Vanessa refused to accept that pills and surgeries were her only options. She took her health into her own hands, uncovering life-changing healing through circadian biology, homeopathy, and lifestyle changes. This episode is packed with insights on the transformative power of sunlight, grounding, and the power of our bodies to heal. Imagine that. God gave us an incredible body that heals itself. Stick around. You don't want to miss Vanessa's powerful story and actionable tips for building resilience and reclaiming your health. Here we go. Hey everyone, it's Rob Renee with the I Am Pain-Free podcast. Welcome back. Got a fun guest today. We have Vanessa Baldwin. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be a fun conversation, just learning more about your background, what you do, and what you've been through. This is going to be a fun conversation, so stick around. It's going to be fun. Vanessa, so tell us more about yourself and how'd you get to doing what you are doing today?
Yeah, so I'm a classical homeopath, actually, and I am certified in applied quantum biology, and I also have an ancestral health nutrition background as well. So a couple of different things, but I got here because of my own health crisis, like most healers, right? Most healers either have their own health crisis or somebody they love has a health crisis, and that's what happened to me. Of course, my health wasn't perfect. Growing up, I actually wound up with chronic bladder infections at the age of 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they just were reoccurring. So what the medical intervention was to put me on long-term antibiotics.
Yikes.
And I'm sure your audience and you're well aware of the detriment that can do to one's gut microbiome and health over time. And of course, that medical intervention did not cure my bladder issues. And that continued to be an ongoing issue for me throughout my whole life into adulthood, always getting reoccurring bladder infections, reoccurring like yeast infections due to the antibiotics, goes on this back and forth seesaw. And then as I got older and I had kids, it was the whole metabolic issues. I actually was pretty obese. I used to be 60 pounds heavier than I am now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a whole story, right? As everybody has a long story,
Yeah,
right? So
no, this is fascinating.
yeah. So then, of course, I had a lot of other health issues. And what did I do? Everybody else does when they're like, oh, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to feel better. What do? We go to diet and exercise. So that's exactly what I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to diet really hard. I went into Weight Watchers, which at that time, I was not focusing on food quality. I was only focusing on calories, like how much am I eating, which is not really what's important. It's really about what the quality of the food we're eating, right? So I would eat something like spray butter over butter, real butter, because I thought that was healthier because it was less points or less calories, which wasn't really great. And then I added in some chronic cardio. I started running marathons and doing all this, and I lost a lot of weight. Like I lost the weight easily and it was great. But then I started running into health issues. And I always share that because we think that the way a person looks is a measurement of health, which it's really not, because I looked like the picture of health, like super slim body, really healthy, running marathons, meditating, doing yoga, lifting weights, eating salads every day, like all the things you think that a woman should be doing to be healthy. But actually, I started running into autoimmune issues. So I wound up getting alopecia areata, which is like giant bald spots in your, head, like sizes of a quarter. So medical interventions for that are not very helpful, but I did those. And then I got another diagnosis of interstitial cystitis, which is a bladder infection. I got another bladder infection, but now it doesn't go away. It's like you live with a bladder infection every single day. So it's a chronic inflammatory disease of that specific organ. And that would bring me pain, but it would be like intermittent. It wasn't like something I couldn't handle. And then I got like the fatigue and the joint pain and all these other things started coming up as well. So like my health was just deteriorating more. And I got a diagnosis of Hashimoto's as well. And this was around the time of the pandemic. There was a lot of fear, anxiety, and I'm a very big proponent of like how our emotions, and especially living in a fear state, also drives disease. So I was in a very kind of chaotic state in that time. And it was 2020, and I wound up getting a medical intervention that a lot of people did during that time. And that catapulted my health from, okay, I'm like surviving with autoimmunity, living in the medical system, not knowing what to do, to all of a sudden like a total health crash.
Wow.
And I think it was because my body was in a depleted state already that my health crashed so much. But I didn't have enough energy and enough redox potential, and like my mitochondria were already suffering. And then I did something that was brought me down further. So what happened after that was I wound up getting severe joint pain, severe insomnia where I could not sleep every night. Every night I would try to go to bed, I just couldn't sleep. My heart would be racing. I would be in a lot of pain, like severe joint pain all over the body. And the bladder pain went from like manageable to unmanageable. Let's just be honest. It was like top 10 pain that kept me up all night. So between the pain that was keeping me up all night and the insomnia and the heart racing and just like all of this, I was in this whole, just basically what I would say is like a mast cell activation spiral, right? A whole cytokine kind of storm happening at that time.
Yeah.
And that after like weeks and weeks of not sleeping and being in chronic pain, you start to develop depression. And I'm like a really super happy, bubbly, positive person like my entire life. So
no, look at you now, right? You can tell.
Yeah, experiencing depression was like something I never felt before. But when you don't sleep and you have chronic pain, that can happen. And it got to the point where I'm a former special education teacher. I didn't mention that. So I left my job and I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on my health. I'm going to focus on my healing. And I was like, and I also felt like I wasn't functioning well enough to actually do my job adequately, even though it was my choice to leave. So I decided to leave my career, go on leave, try to focus on my health, figure it out. And I didn't know anything about finding root causes at that time. I was just like, oh, I'm going to go to my medical doctors and they're going to fix it. Like I wasn't there yet. So of course I went to all the allopathic treatments. And I think that when it really snapped me out of that was not going to be my answer was when they said, oh, we can just remove your bladder. And I was like, or when I went to the rheumatologist and they told me to exercise more. And I was like, I was chronically exercising and now I have this severe joint. Like I wasn't getting any answers. Or when I would leave the doctor's offices and they would be like, there's nothing I can do besides give you this antidepressant. And that just didn't resonate. Like I was like, the cause of my depression is because of the chronic pain and insomnia that I'm experiencing. So I didn't want to just medicate myself. So then I left that, of course, and I went into, okay, let me go to functional medicine. Let me find the root cause of disease, all of that. And I'll be honest, Rob, and this is sometimes not a very popular opinion, but I didn't find functional medicine to be very effective for me. And I think because it was very similar to the allopathic medical model. They were like, okay, here's a supplement for your issues. So now here I leave with my 30 supplements and I start taking them and I feel no better. Wow. And that was really discouraging because you're like, okay, now allopathic medicine can't help me. Right. Functional medicine can't help me. I'm alone. I was very isolated and alone. And it drove the fear because of course I had a lot of functional testing done and I was like, okay, now you have mold and you have H. pylori and you have parasites. And I'm like, basically I'm just very susceptible and a weak host. And we have to strengthen me as a person in order to be able to not have these issues anymore. It all goes, what I learn in the future is it all goes down to strengthening your body. Right. So these things don't harbor right within you. So eventually I tried a lot of things, Reiki, acupuncture, like everything. And eventually I was listening to podcasts because I'm a super determined person, like total fighter.
Like I can't believe you've done all this on your own, right? Which is really amazing. Yes.
Yes. It was like a year of darkness, a year of really dark times where I couldn't be a wife. I couldn't be a mom. I have 3 young boys. Like I couldn't get off the floor to go to the food store and make my family dinner. That's how dark my time was. But you know what? after the darkness always comes the light, is what I say, because there is solutions out there, and you have to be proactive, and you have to like take the reins to take care of your health, because no one's going to fight for it as much as you. So you have to have that fight. So I just kept researching and looking and finding, I'm like, there has to be something out there that can solve this issue for me, or these many issues that I had. And I was listening to a podcast, and I listened and I heard about watching the sunrise, and I was like, sure, why not? That's free. That's easy. Let's do it. Like, I had learned a little bit about connecting to nature, like earthing. Like, I'd heard these things coming up before. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get up at the sunrise. It was a fall. It was this time of year. It was like the fall time when I began this practice. And I was like, I'm going to go sit out at sunrise. I'm going to have my bare feet on the ground, and I'm just going to sit there. I'm just going to sit there and see what happens. Let's just try it. And no phones, no nothing, just going to hang out outside on my grass and see what happens. And I tell you, Rob, after a couple of days of doing that, I started sleeping better. And I was like, wait, what is this voodoo magic here? Like, why did that work? So of course, when you've been struggling so much, like I took high dose melatonin, I took L-theanine, I took sleeping pills at one time. Nothing was moving my sleep more, really. Like, okay, I would try to go to sleep, and then I'd take, say, L-theanine or melatonin, and yeah, it would help, but that's not actually fixing the problem.
Right.
That is just putting a band. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's really interesting. No, I like it. Keep going. This is awesome.
Okay. It's like putting a Band-Aid on it, right? Like, I didn't want to be relying on a supplement. I wanted to learn how to like really fix this really at a deep subatomical level. Yeah, I just sat outside every day for sunrise probably since then. I still see the sunrise every single day. It's a huge part of my practice. And then I started learning more about what is circadian health, what is quantum biology, what does this mean, why did this work, and why did it help? And then the amazing thing after that, Rob, after some time of watching the sunrise and being outside in the sunlight, grounded also, that's a very important piece of it, I started to have reduction in my pain. And I was like, oh, that's pretty amazing. So not only am I sleeping better, my pain is better. And then of course, when you finally start sleeping and your pain reduces, then your mood starts improving, and I was less depressed, and I was able to start doing more. So it was like a slow transition back into myself. And I kept learning more about all of this stuff, and we can share more about that. But eventually moving into classical homeopathy too, and just learning more and more about nutrition and all the things. So
that's awesome. I love this journey, because it is a journey, right? That's what I love, because I was on a journey, and I'm on a journey, and I'm excited about the journey I'm heading on. And so I think it's really fun to see your journey, right? You went through what probably 90% of Americans go through initially, is the white coat syndrome, right? Where the white coat's going to fix all my problems. And that's how we were trained as people, and children in our society does that. And I think there's a great awakening happening in a lot of things, both from a faith perspective and a health perspective. But it's just so fascinating for me to see now people understanding that, gosh, we have to take control of our own selves and our own bodies. That's the thing I love about what you said. I was like, okay, nobody else is going to fix me but me. And I got to go figure it out. And,
honestly, I think that's so the truth. Like, we always look for something outside of ourselves. But I always tell even my clients, like, you are the protocol. You have all the answers inside of you. You just don't realize it yet. So we get them to that, like, trusting your body and trusting your intuition is so important, right? Like, when that antidepressant, I'll never forget this day. I sat at my kitchen table, and my husband put the antidepressants in front of me, and I'm like, this feels wrong. My intuition felt so strongly against it. I was like, this is not my path. This is not for me. I need to find another way. And that was hard for him, because here's his wife who's extremely sick, suicidal depression and thoughts. He's afraid to leave the house. He just wants me to feel better. And we know nothing else besides allopathic medicine. We're always, as a society, we look for people to fix us. This is what we do, because the medical system causes that, Rob, I feel like, because of the fact that every little sniffle we have, every little thing, we just go and take a pill to Band-Aid it or suppress it. So we suppress everything. And then as soon as we have something hard, we don't view that as a learning opportunity or a growth opportunity for ourselves. We're like, how can we just get rid of this right now? Right?
That's right. We want instant gratification. We want that pill for an ill because that's the way we've been trained. And sadly, that's our medical system is set up to profit from that. And so it's exciting to see though that people are understanding and starting to wake up. So I'm really fascinated with your story because you went through even functional medicine is so much better than allopathic medicine,
Agreed.
right? Which is super something I definitely am a huge advocate of. But it's interesting that part didn't help you, but you went continue to search and find, and I love that.
Can
It's
I
super
explain
fun.
why I think it didn't work?
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah. So when your body is in such a depleted state like mine, what I would call as low redox potential, meaning that your mitochondria are this depleted where they can't have normal redox reactions, which would reduce inflammation like naturally
Right.
and help that. When your body is that depleted, it doesn't matter what you throw at it. It doesn't work. It's like
Right.
you need to redox before you detox. You need to strengthen the mitochondria first. So throwing like parasite cleanses at me or herb protocols for detox was actually making me sicker. I had bought a wonderful, beautiful sauna that I still have and love that I couldn't use because I would go in there and feel so much more sick. My
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
just
Make it
couldn't
even
like,
worse. Huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't, I didn't have enough what I call energy over inflammation. Like I didn't have enough energy and my energy was in balance to fix it. And what
Right.
sunlight does and earthing does, and this is great for your audience to know, is that when you're outside in sunlight and you're outside and putting your feet, bare feet in the grass or whatever, anything that's conductive. It could be bark is not conductive, but like hutching a tree, standing in the sand, swimming in an ocean, standing on the grass, anything like that. These are other ways that we are meant to gather energy. And when energy are free electrons, which power our mitochondria. So only 1/3 of our energy should really come from food. But most people, because we live indoor lives and because we wear rubber shoes all day long and we're inside most of the day, all of our energy comes from food. And food is a good source of electrons, but we need to get it from other sources, right, to power our mitochondria. So sitting outside for a couple of hours, I was getting a huge dose of energy for my
No.
body to fix and or to improve my mitochondria. And this is like free medicine that is available to every single person every single day on the planet. Like the sunlight is always there. And even on a cloudy day, you're still going to get benefits because the sunlight has this beautiful spectrum, right? And has met every different frequency has a different benefit. And the earth is always there for us to gather energy from. And if we can learn to harness energy in other ways, we'll be a lot healthier. Our redox will improve. And what I mean by that is our mitochondria health improves because we have more energy for things like cellular repair and things like cellular energy and cellular hydration. Like we're able to actually function better, better digestion, better hormones, better neurotransmitters, all the things. So yeah, that's why I think those supplements didn't work. I needed lifestyle changes.
Yeah,
Like,
that's interesting, and I love this conversation because literally, when I am talking to people, and I get on podcasts a lot with my products and talk about what I do for a living, and I always end up with 4 or 5 techniques I like to give people for free. And guess what? My first two are. My first two are the things you just mentioned. It's like the sun is free, right? You get out and get some sun and ground. And my wife, I would tell the story every single time, so I'm sure my listeners are bored of it. But my wife laughs at me because I used to, laugh at her about grounding. She used to tell me grounding was so important. I was like, I don't like my feet are sensitive. I don't want to get my feet on the ground. I like my shoes. I don't want to. And then I learned all the benefits of grounding. I'm like, oh, geez, just this why. So now I love it, right? I go out and do it all the time, and it's so amazing. So it's really cool that you're doing those two things, which then started getting your body in a state where it could start healing itself. And I'm a faith-based person, so I believe that God gave us this incredible body that it can heal itself, right? And if you can give it the right things and the
inputs.
right nutrients, that it can do amazing things. And what you're telling me is what is fun, because literally when my first awakening moment, yours was through your suffering, which
Yeah.
is what sucks that you had to do that. But look at you now. It's amazing
Yeah.
to see where you're going. But mine was when the pandemic hit. I was in the matrix. I would go to the white coat and my whole life, all those types of things. And then I saw the vilification of a doctor who was recommending vitamin D, right? And I'm like, hold it. I was an athlete when I was young and I knew nutrition is really important. And like vitamin D is like from the sun. It's like, why in the heck would they be vilifying this guy? So I couldn't figure it out. So then that's what started my journey, was then I started doing research on why would they vilify this guy talking about something that's so natural that literally comes from the sun. That's really fun that the sun and grounding are so were an important part of your transition of your whole body to get there. So anyway, tell me more about what you call the science behind that. What did you mention the term?
Yeah.
What's the term again?
Circadian biology?
There we go. Yeah, circadian biology. Sorry, So tell me more. What is that? Is that just grounding in the sun, or is there a lot more to it?
Oh yeah, there's definitely more to it. So
okay, so explain that to me.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm certified in applied quantum biology, which is like circadian quantum biology or similar. But quantum means like the smallest particle, right? So it's like this small input that has this big effect on the body, right? That's how I view quantum. And circadian biology is like living with the natural rhythms. Like I'm sure you heard of circadian rhythms, like living with the natural light and dark cycles. But it goes deeper into that, besides just living with the light and dark cycles, but like living with the seasons, all of that. So it's really important for us actually to get and you were saying, like, I was thinking of the right input, the right stimulus to self-heal. Like we need certain inputs to heal. We need sunlight to live. Right. Like without sunlight, we are not here. Like nothing exists here. Nothing. Like it's really vital for us. And yeah, so I'm very big on sunlight, but yeah, circadian biology is just really honoring the natural rhythms and the light and dark cycles that we should be exposed to. Naturally, years ago, before electric lighting and rubber sole shoes and food stores, I wouldn't really have to teach any of these things because it would have been the way we automatically lived. And we actually didn't have chronic disease before we had all these things come into play.
Isn't that amazing?
Right?
Wow.
Yeah, there's a correlation here, right? Yeah. So normally, naturally, we should be rising with the sun. That should be the first light stimulus that's in our eyes every day. And light controls our circadian biology. Okay. So light stimuluses. So light is what we call the number one Zeitgeber or time giver. There are other ones like food and temperature as well, but it entrains our circadian biology or our circadian rhythms, the light that enters our eyes specifically, and the different wavelengths of blue light. You'll hear about like blue blocking glasses and stuff like that. Super important. And I can explain why. And blue blockers were huge help for me. You're putting them on right now.
Exactly.
So people ask me this question. People ask me this question all the time, why I'm not wearing blue blockers, is because I have a software program on my computer called Iris. So everything looks red on my screen. So there is no blue light. So I mitigate the blue light. But Rob, I don't know. I was listening to your podcast as I was prepping for this. And I think you said you have clear blue blockers, correct?
I do. Are they bad?
They're not
going to work?
They don't work.
Oh, don't tell me that.
They're a gimmick. They're a gimmick. And the research shows that blue blockers don't work, quote unquote, don't work. And that's because clear lenses don't work. They have to be a yellow tint.
Okay. It does have a little bit of a yellow tint.
Maybe. I don't know. I can't see them because my screen is red. I'm just telling you the truth that I can't tell.
No, that's important. I just liked it because it didn't look like I had glasses on as much, right? So,
yeah.
So it does have a little bit of a yellow tint.
Okay. So maybe they do work. If they're not clear, they work. If they have a yellow tint, they should work. So
okay, good.
Daytime blue blockers
they work.
Yeah. Daytime blue blockers should have a yellow hue on them. Okay. I lost my train of thought of what I was going to say, but I'll go back. It's okay. It's okay. So anyway, so light trains our circadian rhythm, right? So what we want is we want to get the right light inputs into our body every day. So what we should be doing is we should be getting out at sunrise time. And at sunrise time, that light that enters our eyes, we have this light that enters our eyes, and it goes into this track, into our brain, into our hypothalamus, into a small little part of our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Wow. And that basically is this master conductor of our circadian biology. And it's like this master timekeeper. And it really controls what your body does and when it should do it. Like when hormones should be released, when neurotransmitters should be released, when I should be digesting, when I should be hungry, when I should be sleepy, when I should be awake, when I should have energy. It's controlling a lot of our biology, and we don't think of that. So that's why getting out at sunrise repaired my circadian rhythm and also repaired some key hormones. For example, melatonin, I'm sure you've heard it before, and cortisol are very key hormones that are controlled by light. And when you get outside at sunrise light, it tells your body, right? It tells your body through the eyes, in the light that goes into the eyes, it gives a signal or a message to your body. Hey, put the melatonin away and start to release cortisol, because these are opposing hormones, right?
Okay.
Just by going outside, that alone is going to send that message to this to happen to your body and start to regulate these hormones, okay? And then at the end of the evening, which was also a super imperative point in my journey, as I learned about circadian biology, I did start wearing blue blockers. And
Okay.
mitigating artificial light at night specifically is very important for health and healing, because if you have blue light in your environment at night, especially into the eyes, but you also have receptors or melanopsin receptors, which are blue light detectors in your skin also. It tells your body, hey, guess what? It's noon in June and you need to make more cortisol. And when
Oh,
you make
interesting.
more cortisol, you suppress melatonin. And melatonin is not just a hormone that helps us sleep, but it helps us repair. It
Oh,
controls things like what we call autophagy and apoptosis. Autophagy is cellular repair, and apoptosis is cell death. So when you go to bed at night, like stimulated with all this cortisol, you're not healing and repairing as well as you should be. Your melatonin to be released from your pineal gland takes 4 hours after darkness. So if you get into complete darkness, say at 10, it's being suppressed and not releasing till way later. As if you were in complete darkness earlier, it's going to release at a more appropriate time and you get more healing. So that was another reason why my healing journey got accelerated by following these light signals, honoring these light signals, is because I was honoring darkness at night. So
okay.
there's a
So
lot of
like
ways to
darkness,
do that.
does that include infrared lights or LED lights or the
Yeah.
stuff we have in our house?
How do
How
I
do you
do that?
mitigate? How do you do that?
Yeah, so we all have blue blockers, right? And after sunset, you want to throw in an orange pair. And if you really have any kind of insomnia issues or chronic disease, you want to throw in a red pair a half hour before bed, because they will make you sleepy, because they block all blue and all green, which sends the message to your body that it's nighttime and to go to bed. It really
Oh,
makes you very
interesting.
sleepy.
Do it
But
through glasses, is that right? So then you
so
in
yeah,
the
because the
evening.
eyes are the main pathway to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which controls your circadian biology. And what I didn't get to say before is that then sends a message to all of the circadian clocks and gene clocks all over your body, right? So you have clocks on your liver, your kidneys, your bladder, your gut, your heart. Like, it's sending a message to all of those other clocks.
Okay.
And this clock has to run the fastest. So you want to be in sync with the light that's in nature. And the other thing which you mentioned about lights, which is super important, is you don't want to have a lot of like overhead lighting, like these kind of like lights that I have, you can see in my background,
Mhm.
on at night, because they will tell your body it's daytime, because you also have photoreceptors on your skin as well, not just in your eyes. So that doesn't mean you have to live in complete darkness, but you can get things like red bulbs, orange bulbs, or you can get incandescent bulbs, which have a little bit of blue, but not as much as the bright white LEDs or like a fluorescent, because it's really about the color temperature of the light. That is the issue. With our LEDs and our fluorescents, they are only emitting blue light. They are not emitting infrared or red, but incandescents, which have been banned, so are now hard to find, just that's for supposedly energy efficiency, okay? But they are much healthier for us because they also provide infrared. So they mimic the full spectrum of sunlight much better
Oh,
than,
interesting.
say, an LED. Because in nature, whenever blue light is out, which is very stimulatory, activates cortisol, pushes up insulin, blood sugar, glucose, like all these things, it always has red light, which comes in and balances it out. So it's like the red is the antidote to the blue, and it's like the anti-inflammatory portion of the light spectrum. So now we have light bulbs that are just inflammatory without the anti-inflammatory section.
Oh, wow.
Yes, changing out light bulbs is something that I speak to clients about greatly.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes.
So then you mentioned, was it homeopathic is another thing you really started working on? Is that right? So
Ye-
now we got our rhythms in motion and we're getting our feet in the ground and there's the sun early and we're getting our bodies to shut down at night correctly. So we're working
Yes.
on that. Then what else do we do?
I would also just add in also not eating close to bed is really important for gut repair and healing the gut lining, because when you eat late at night, it also stimulates the body in a way for digestion. And melatonin, like I mentioned before, is that janitor that has to clean up and repair right at night. But the janitor can't clean up if you're still, digesting food. I also did that. I stopped eating about 4 to 5 hours before going to bed. So you're giving your body a longer intermittent fast, which can be really supportive to helping to heal the gut lining. And the gut, of course, plays a major role in a lot of diseases as well. That's another tip I would say. But then, I added in classical homeopathy. I started learning about more energy and frequency medicine because I had gotten another bladder infection, and I was like, I am not taking, I'm not going to the medical convention for this. This is not what I'm going to do. I need another alternative. What can I learn about this, and what else can I do? And I found classical homeopathy, and I saw a homeopath, and then literally it was like amazing healing. Like I got so much better, and I was like, oh my God, I have to tell everybody about this. Everybody needs to know you don't have to take antibiotics. You can actually just take something else that can heal this. And the amazing thing about homeopathy, it's an energy frequency medicine that stimulates your body to heal. So instead of suppressing, it supports, right? So it's not, okay, we're just going to shove this under the carpet.
Right.
You're going to heal it. So what happened is, and this sometimes makes people feel a little bit anxious depending on the person, is you get what's called like an aggravation or an activation of the immune system. This is your body getting stronger. This is your body actually having symptoms, because the symptoms are the healing, and the symptoms help your body remove what no longer needs. So I had what's called like an aggravation of symptoms, and then a big, what we call amelioration of symptoms. Like I was like, oh my goodness, this works. This is amazing. Everybody needs to know it, because I want people to know that they have other choices. I don't want any little girl like me who's with chronic bladder infections to be put on antibiotics for years. That's not a solution. If I would have known about homeopathy then, what would my life have been like forever, right? It would have been a totally different trajectory, right?
Yeah.
We can't keep suppressing these symptoms. We need to teach the body how to level up and be stronger so it can be less susceptible in the future. So then what happened is that the person that I went to homeopathy for, we started being in contact more. And then she was running a homeopathic school training. And I was like, I'm doing this. So then I just wound up doing it. And now everybody's on homeopathy, and it's like a real huge part of my life. And it's a really big passion, especially helping people with chronic disease, because sometimes too, Rob, you can be doing every single thing you think is right and doing all the things, but there are these like stuck energetic blockages. And this could be from a medication that you've taken, a medication that your mother has taken, or your father has taken, or your grandmother has taken. It also could be from like a trauma. I'm always looking for the triggers, like a trauma. And this could be like on the mental or emotional level, or on the physical level. It could be a grief. It could be that you have like, the emotions play a huge role in our health. And if we are suppressing emotions like anger or grief, or we're just shoving everything under the carpet, basically, it's going to express somewhere else in the body. It always does. The body will find an outlet. Yeah. Or if we're not like, we're boundaryless, I like to say, like we're just like people pleaser, not like saying what our wants and needs are. All of these things cause disease in the body too. So the cool thing about homeopathy, it's not only good for things like acutes, like a UTI or strep throat or an ear infection. It's really good for chronic health issues, and it considers the physical and the mental emotional. So it works on the mental emotional level. And I'll never forget, because I've been taking homeopathy for two or 3 years now. There was one remedy that I took, and it was like something snapped in me where it was like, oh my goodness, I feel like me. And I hadn't felt like me. Like I felt better in a lot of ways, but it was like this lingering, I'm not me completely, like 100%. And I was like, I feel like me again. It was like, and I can't really think of a better like testament to that medicine than that. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's very different than when you see an allopathic doctor, because we homeopaths will sit with you for 2 hours and discuss all the things. It's not a 7 to 10 minute conversation. Like we're going to ask you like every question you could think of. And you're like, and they're not even going to make sense. You're going to be like, why did she ask that question? I don't understand. Why is she asking me if I stick my feet out of the covers when I'm sleeping? Because it actually matters to us and the symptoms, right? Yeah, it's very in depth, and we're really looking for the root causes and triggers that cause this, what I would say as an energetic blockage that's impeding your body's ability to self heal.
Yeah, that's what's actually really interesting. I look at the body as a mind, body, spirit connection in my faith, right? Walk, and I also view that from a health perspective as well, because it is amazing how impactful your mind is on your body. And it like you said, there's lots of, and I didn't believe in any of this stuff a few years ago, right? But I've been seeing some holistic practitioners who are helping me through some interesting heart issues I have. My heart is beating really slow, so it's 32 beats a minute, and so I've got bradycardia, and I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to get a pacemaker. The only reason why I mention that is that working as an amazing holistic practitioner, and he's worked on some emotional blockages. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? What are you talking about? Come on. This makes no sense to me whatsoever. But it's actually fascinating when you look at how he can interpret my body and what my body's doing, and the signals that it's giving him is just incredible. So it's like our bodies, like I keep telling people, our bodies, God made this incredibly complex being that is we're still finding out how to take care of it. And so I love what you're doing, is you're looking at the body as a whole and helping people. And man, I wish we could figure out a way to get our health system configured in a way that people were incented to do that, because like you said, it takes a lot of time and you're asking lots of questions, but you need to do all of that in order to get to the root cause of helping people. And so it's just my personal prayer that we as a society can figure that out, that we can incent people like you to do what you do and give you the resources you need to do what you do. And because it's so important, right? You're literally helping people at the core and giving them what they need to be the person that they are, like you found you. Right? How incredibly cool is that?
Yeah. No, it's really beautiful. And I love everything you just said.
All right, we got the kids coming home.
I wasn't expecting more kids. Guys, you got to be really quiet, okay? Sorry, they're just coming home from school. But it's okay. They're really good. They'll be fine. Yeah, no, I loved everything you just said. And it's unfortunate because homeopathy and other natural forms of medicine like chiropractic, acupuncture, naturopathy, herbalism, all these other beautiful modalities used to be a real huge part of, like here in the United States and other countries, it really still is, used to be this huge part of our medical care. And unfortunately, due to some of the things that have happened over years, that it's all been squelched. So you don't know about it intentionally, unfortunately. It's intended to be that way, that you don't know that those things exist. And it's, if my parents would have, I didn't know it. She didn't know that there was another choice. We just think, oh, a child has a UTI, they go to the doctor and they take antibiotics. We don't even think that there's another option. We don't even think that there's a mental and emotional component to that, right? A lot of people have UTIs from suppressed anger, actually. They suppress their anger and then they get UTIs. That's a common trigger, right? We don't really make these connections.
Yeah, no one would do that. In allopathic medicine, they wouldn't ever get that connection. And so I think it's super important. As you talked about, it was an intentional takeover of our medical system in the early 1900s. So what's fun for me is, I don't know if you know Callie or Casey Means. Have you heard them recently?
I've heard of them, yes.
It's just fun. The reason why I love it is they're just helping expose what has happened. So, and they have such a huge voice, right? They just on Tucker Carlson. They were just on Joe Rogan. So millions and millions of people are seeing now somebody that's really intelligent, a Stanford educated surgeon who went through that whole system, now has stepped back and looked and saw and researched all the corruption that happened back in and so all these, our holistic practitioners were 50% of our medical system in the early 1900s. That's ginormous. That's huge. And now it's 0.1%, if that. It's just, so it was done systematically, and it took out all these things that you just mentioned, all those awesome modalities, and they've done a fantastic job of throwing them under the rug. And so now I see this great awakening happening where people like you are getting the word out. And that's what I want this podcast to be, is just let's help push out this information, because it's so important. Our bodies are so incredibly wonderful. If we give them the right nutrients and the right things to do, the sun, the other components, energy system that you mentioned with the grounding, right? That we can really, our bodies can heal itself. Just the trick is, how do we get it there? And they need to find people like Vanessa, right? So how do people find you, Vanessa?
Oh, appreciate that, Rob. Yeah, I have a website. It's called brightlightwellnesscoach.com. So you can check me out there. I also have an Instagram. It's bright_light_wellness. And I also have a second one. I have two Instagrams. The other one is called Healing Families with Homeopathy. And then I also have my own podcast called the Quantum Health Connection Podcast, which I run with my amazing co-host called Heather Crimson. And we share a ton of circadian health tips and strategies and quantum biology. We bring a lot of people into, and yeah, it's a really great podcast, a lot of fun. So you can catch me over there as well. I also have YouTube, Bright Light Wellness. I'm on TikTok, Bright Light Wellness. Nice. Like, I'm all over the place. So it's a real big mission to share this and get this word out there and get people to realize that their bodies are capable of healing. You don't have to rely on the system. There are other things that actually do work, and it just needs the right inputs. Like I always tell people, it's not you that's flawed. Lots of times it's your environment that's flawed. Like where you're living can be a major issue. And that could just mean living indoors too much and not getting enough time outside. Like that simple thing could be huge impact on your body. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll make sure we have all of your links to all of your, sounds like you have a lot of them, which is awesome. And we'll make sure people get access to you, because I want people to use you, and get help from Vanessa would be fantastic. Thank you for taking the time, Vanessa. It's been a super pleasure to have you on the show. And I look forward to having you back on, and maybe even your partner in a crime with your podcast. We can do something else in the future. But what a pleasure. Thanks for being on.
That would be awesome. Thank you so much, Rob.
All right. God bless. As many of you know, my focus at the I Am Pain-Free podcast is help as many people get pain-free as possible. And we strive to use all natural and alternative therapies to accomplish that goal. Well, today I'm thrilled to introduce to you a revolutionary product that aligns perfectly with our mission of natural health and well-being. It's called Exodus by Exodus Strong. At Exodus Strong, their mission is to help you break free from the grip of big pharma and embrace natural solutions that promote vibrant health. With a foundation rooted in the wisdom of the Bible, the all-natural supplement harnesses the power of 7 key ingredients specifically mentioned in the scriptures. The flagship product, Exodus, is designed to be transformational, providing benefits such as energy enhancement, stress relief, blood sugar stabilization, pain relief, and anti-inflammation. So join the movement, right, to help them get 1 million new people to read the Bible every day and transform their health naturally. When you purchase Exodus, use code IAPF at checkout to receive a special free gift with your order. It's time to exit the old you and step into a new chapter of vitality and well-being. To get there, you go to exodusstrong.com. So it's Exodus, EXODUS, STRONG.com. And check out and use that IAPF for the I Am Pain-Free podcast. And then you'll experience the benefits of the Exodus mineral blend. This mineral blend is amazing. It's got the molecular hydrogen generating formula that's backed by hundreds of scientific studies. So begin your journey feeling great and looking great. Don't miss the opportunity to take control of your health with the all-natural way. So go check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it.